Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Matt, and you've reached Kingtridentstribe. Hello, tribe. How's the Good Vibes Soul Tribe doing this awesome day? Today, I'm answering a viewer's question. How can I change my DM? It's actually a two-part question. So, first part is how can I change my DM? Second part is it possible to get them to commit to the journey? So, with that, anything to do with my social media accounts and coaching sessions will be in the description of this video as well as my other videos. So I'm going to keep this short and let's just dive right into the message. So how can I change my DM? I'm going to answer the first part. I'll answer the second part later on. So first, I'd like to say thank you for your question. I'm really appreciative, and I have much gratitude for this. And if you would like a question answered, you can either email it to me, kingtridentstribe@gmail.com, or you can post it in the comments and I write those down and then I will answer them later on. So what we first must understand is to separate the label. So we need to separate the label of Twinflame when we answer this question. The label doesn't matter. The reason is your divine counterpart is having a human experience. We are all having human experiences no matter what label is put upon us. And part of that experience is having the freedom to choose their path due to free will. And that's very important. Free will has to be respected. It's highly respected by the angels and divine, which is why they don't interfere unless you pray and ask for assistance. I mean, you must ask for assistance in order for them to interfere with your free will. The second part is we must understand is you can't change a human. So you really can't change a human. It's like the analogy, I guess it's kind of an analogy of a person that is hooked on drugs. So if you have a loved one or someone you really care about is hooked on drugs, I mean, you can take them to the rehab place. You can do everything possible to try to get them off of drugs. But if inside of them, they don't want to be off drugs, they're not going to get off drugs. They're going to get right back on it. So it has to be their free will in order to get off drugs or, in this case, change or do their inner work. Unless they give you control or power over them, which is highly unlikely. Change must be completed through the freedom given to that person. So, love equals freedom, and they must have the freedom in order to make the change. It must be on their own free will through their own freedom. In the case of the DM, if they are currently running, then they have behaviors of a wild horse. And let me just say that if they're running, through the telescopic view, it might seem that they are running from you, but really what they're running from is themselves. And the twin flame journey, really what that is back to oneness. And all roads lead back to yourself in the end. But what that person is reflecting to you is what's within you too. And so that's why it's so important for us to focus on ourselves and not really focus on our divine counterpart. And whenever we are healing ourselves or whenever we're doing our self-improvement and deliberate development, it's actually helping this process, whether you get into union or not. So, in order to understand this, in the case of the DM, if they're currently running, then they have behaviors of a wild horse. And now, have you ever tried to tame a wild horse? Well, let me tell you, that horse is going to buck and kick and probably injure you. And in this case, in the case of the DM, if you attempt to change them, then you will end up getting hurt in the end. I mean, because they're not internally, they're in turmoil inside themselves. They don't want to do their personal healing. They don't want They have to feel it to heal it, and they are struggling not to do that because they don't want to do that. And so in the end, they're going to end up doing actions that end up hurting you in the end. While you're exerting your valuable resources, your time and energy that you'll never get back. They must come to a point of committing to the journey and oneness on their own. The lessons that is put upon them will energetically cause them to eventually shift and focus upon themselves. But in human time, that can be a while. So, we don't know what the designated amount of time it's going to take for that person to come to a point where they realize that what they're running from is themselves, and that it's in their highest good to complete their inner work and align their holy trinity. It could be days, it could be months, it could be years, it could be decades. I mean, nobody knows except for them. And so, the bottom line is that as much as we would like to change that person, as much as we would like to say, hey man, we're twin flames, don't you like how this relationship feels, blah blah. The short answer is that you cannot change them. There's nothing that you can do to make them change, and more than likely any of the actions that you take is just going to make them run away even more. It's gonna cause them to call you probably some names or whatever, because they are childish. They are selfish, they're in their ego mind, and they do things that doesn't make any sense. And it's the actions of what I would say is their actions mirror what an injured dog is like. When an injured dog is like, man, it's gonna it's gonna be vicious. It doesn't really allow you to help it, and it would just bite your hand off. You see, DMs are usually stubborn, hard-headed, and like bricks, and that's truly, I know this from my own personal experience, but they are literally like bricks. They won't make a change until the brick cracks, and that's the truth. Now let's get to the second part of the question. Is it possible to get them to commit to the journey? Well, I would say this: anything is possible. I'll never say that it isn't possible, because possibility is always there. But what I will say is the percentage is extremely low, and that is true. The percentage to getting them to commit to the journey. So when we're saying getting them to commit, it's almost like you are taking it in your own hands to get them back onto the journey, and that percentage is very low. However, there is a few things that you can do depending on where your DM is, and I'm going to get into that. So it depends on where the DM is with their inner work, and that's what it comes down to. If inner work is not something that they are currently focused on, then it will be nearly impossible. So if they just think it's crazy to do inner work, and they're all about like external things, such as things that are not serving their highest good, like partying or that type of stuff, and it's everything but inner work, then the likelihood of getting them to commit to the journey at that point is extremely low, and it's going to take like spiritual awakening, dark night of the soul, some energetic force that causes them to focus upon themselves. However, if they're taking time to focus on themselves, and they've been through an awakening and or a dark night of the soul, then it's very possible to get them to commit to the journey. And more than likely, if they are at that point, they've had dreams, they've had synchronicities, they've had all kinds of different experiences that has made them focus on on this part of their journey. So my suggestion is to always focus upon yourself. Always, that's first and foremost and most important. Focus upon yourself. If in contact with the DM, then always just allow the communication to flow without expectations. Don't put any expectations upon them, and just let it flow naturally. From a place of love, LOVE. If they bring up in conversation inner work, self-help, spiritual awakening, or a similar topic, then you can ask them their thoughts on the twin flame journey, and if that resonates with them. I mean, you can ask them that. You need to ask it in a question form, and not you telling them, hey, you know, we're twin flames, or, you know, you're a divine masculine, or anything like that. You want to do it in a question and just feel them out, just see what they think about it, you know. kind of like allowing it to be their idea, right? You want to see what their intuition is telling them, especially if they're doing their inner work, and feel their energy too. Always feel their energy. The energy does not lie. Now, just listen at this point. So when you ask them a question, if you ask them this question, just listen. Don't interrupt. Just listen. And never be forceful, and validate their feelings. You know, it's very important to validate their feelings, because, you know, that right there creates a safe space. And that's my last point, is maintain a safe space at all times. And we do that by validating their feelings, not being forceful, and actively listening. Listening is probably the most huge part of any form of communication. You know, being just there to listen and allow them to tell you about their experiences, allow them to tell you things that maybe is a little bit vulnerable for them. And for a DM, vulnerability is you know, when they're shifting from, you know, not being a divine masculine to a divine masculine, you know, when they're in their ego mind, vulnerability is very weak, and it's very hard for them. A lot of them do not want to show vulnerability, and they will shy away from it. So if they're being a little bit vulnerable with you, you know, you should actually applaud that, and let them know that you notice that, and how you appreciate them being vulnerable with you. And then that will encourage them to open up even more and share those experiences with you. So if this message resonated with you, or you like this message, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I encourage you to subscribe, so that way you can get new videos as they come out. And share and comment. I love the comments. So if you have comments, you know, or questions or anything, please put the comments down there. And with that, you guys, I send you much healing, love, and light. And remember, the 3 most important things in life is peace, love, and happiness. You guys have an awesome day and an awesome week.